Today we will talk about our mock paper. So please listen carefully and have a look at all the questions I talk about. So let's look at the MC question first. So first of all, whenever we see this melt and recast question, we know that it is talking about volume before, the shape before you melt. The volume of it is gonna be the same as volume after. So then we will look at what shape we have before. So for before, in here we have a cylinder, and for after, we have a solid right circular cone. So therefore, you can always draw the shape. So we got a cylinder, and then you change it to a cone. And look carefully, so meaning that just one cone and one cylinder. So therefore, we only have to remember what is the volume of a cylinder. And in this case, we have to look at the other information they give you. So it says the base diameter and height of a cylinder is 10 and 9. And then asks you to find what is the radius of the cone. So here for the cylinder, for volume, we do pi r squared h, and volume for cone is 1/3 of pi r squared h. And now let's look at it. So for the cylinder, you got the diameter as 10, so divided by 2 you got radius, and the height is 9, and then 1/3 pi, and the radius of the cone is the thing you need to find, and the height of the cone is given as well, which is 12. So therefore you have this. Once you solve it, you should get your R as 7.5 cm. So here 7.5 you have for B. So what if the question is not asking for one cone and one cylinder? For example, maybe it says from one cylinder, and then it melts and recasts to 40 of your cone. Then the volume of this one cylinder is gonna be equals to the volume of 40 of this cone. So therefore, you can find whatever information they need. If they're asking you the number, they don't know how many they melt, but they give you all the radius and height, then just name it as n for the number of cone you have got. Then you can just solve n to find how many cone did they recast it into. Okay. So later, we look at question 2. Which of the following is correct? So you got your sine, cosine, and you see the identity. So therefore, we have to use the identity and see which one is correct. So number 1, tangent theta, cosine theta, and sine theta. When we always have this, for number 1, when we always have the tangent, we change our tangent. So tangent equals sine over cosine. And you can easily see that the cosine can be cancelled out, so it equals sine theta. So number 1 is correct. Once you know number 1 is correct, then you got a lot of choice. So the C is the only one you can eliminate now. And then we'll look at the second one. So 1 plus tangent square theta equals 1 over, so sorry, this left hand side, equals 1 over cosine square theta. So it asks you to see whether it's correct. So again, we can always start with our tangent. So tangent again is sine over cosine, but this time, look carefully, we got a square. So put square there. And we got, usually when it comes to here, you got a fraction and a non-fraction, or two fractions with different denominator. What you have to do is combine them, make the denominator the same. So 1 will become cosine square theta. And because this one originally is already having a denominator of cosine square theta, so you don't change. And you will see this here. This is the identity you should have memorized, which is equals to 1 cosine square theta plus sine square theta equals 1. And then the denominator keep the same. And again, number 2 is correct. So if number 2 is correct, then your B is not going to be correct. So the only thing now, we still have to look at if our number 3 is correct. So number 3, you can see here, we have sine theta, cosine 90 degree minus theta, and then the other side they said is sine 90 degree minus theta times cosine theta. So we have to start with we will start with our left hand side. So here, left hand side, you got sine theta, cosine 90 minus theta. So here, we always change this. So we always change the 90 degree array. And then here, if you remember, is your sine theta. Sine theta equals your cosine 90 minus theta. So 2 of those sine theta, so sine square theta. But when we look at our right hand side, it doesn't look similar, so maybe we have to change our left hand side as well. So I'll move this away. So here, very small. So here, number 3. So my right hand side, in this case, again we got this 90 degree minus theta. So therefore we will change the 90 degree minus theta away. So sine 90 degree minus theta will give you cosine theta. So 2 cosine theta give you cosine square theta. So you can see that we can't change this anymore. So therefore, this is not correct. So your answer should be A. Your answer should be A. So 1 and 2 is correct. So always when you look at this question, make sure you look carefully. Are they asking is it correct, or are they asking incorrect? Sometimes they will ask it this way. So we look at the number 3. So Queenie deposit 5,000 in the bank at simple interest rate. So this is a percentage question, you can see. So simple interest, highlight the information, deposit 5,000 at 4% per year. So in here, they give you the information for your P. So this is your P. Simple interest telling you should use the P times R percent times time. Remember this formula, and they give you the R percent here, which is 4, and they ask you find a time required to receive an amount. An amount. What does it mean by an amount? So remember, for your interest rate, simple interest formula, this will only give you the interest. So if you want amount will equals your P, your principal, plus your interest. So in this case, my principal is 5,000 and my interest will be using this formula here, 5,000 times my R percent, which is 4%, and times the time. So they're asking you for the time, so we don't know what is the time, just give it a T, and the amount they give you is 6,000. So what, after how many years we can get this amount, 6,000. So we solve the formula to find our T. So T is 5, it requires 5 years, so C will be your answer here. So always for your percentage questions, look carefully what they are asking. Are they talking about simple interest or compound interest? Compound interest and simple interest is the formula you memorize giving you interest, or are they giving you the amount? Think carefully and always look at the information they give you, highlight them. And then number 4, they ask for the salary tax payable. So in here, they give you a chart. Sometimes look at the chart. So this time you can see only 2 of those. So 50,000 for the first 2, and then the other ones are the remainder. So look carefully at the beginning. They give you the net chargeable income with this number here. So they give you already, so you don't have to find it yourself. So net chargeable income is 16000, and then we have to see how many times they can split into here. So you got 50,000, 50,000, sorry, plus 50,000, and then when you put it into your calculator, 160,000 minus this 50,000 and minus 50,000, you should still get 60,000. So we got this free amount. So once we have 3 of those, this is your 1, 2, 3. You got 1, 2, 3. Then you can find your salaries tax payable. In order to find this, all you have to do is your first 50,000, you times the 2%, and then the second 50,000, you times the 6%, you plus them together, and then the remaining parts, the 60,000 in this case, is times 14%. And after that, just put everything into your calculator, then you will have the answer. And in here, the answer is B, 12400. So the last MC question was the one about your gradient. So they give you a lot of information. Gary drives along the inclined plane, inclined road. In here they said PQ, so from here to here, at a speed of 36 km per hour for 25 minutes. If the gradient is 1 to 6, find the horizontal he traveled. So again, remember we always talk about the distance only in here. So they're looking for the horizontal distance. So what we do is, first thing, you have to change this into distance. So you got speed and time. So therefore, the distance traveled by Gary along the road PQ is equals to your speed times times, and look at the units carefully. We have km per hour, and this is minutes, so we have to change the minute to hours. So divided by 60, and you get 15 km. This 15 km means that this line here is 15. So this hypotenuse is 15. And for gradient, 1 to 6, you know how do we calculate gradient. So second part, we look at the gradient. Gradient of road is 1 over 6. And for gradient, apart from we know that the vertical divided by horizontal is gradient, we also know that tangent theta is also a gradient. So why do I know I need to find tangent theta? In order to find my inclination. Because in this case, they're asking for the horizontal. So let's use this horizontal. They're asking for horizontal. And when you got a length and you got a degree, then you can use your trigonometric ratio to find the third length. So therefore, in here, I got 15 km. If I can have the theta, then I can find my horizontal distance. So in here, theta will equals shift tangent 1 over 6, which is 9.4623 degree if I correct to 5 sig fig. Why do I have to correct to 5 sig fig if the answer asking me to correct to 3 sig fig? Because this is not our final answer yet. So the first thing we can do is, once we got this 15 and we got the degree, then we look at it. We have a hypotenuse. We want to look for the adjacent side, so therefore we are using cosine. So cosine is your horizontal distance. I'll just let it H. You don't really need to let something because this is an MC question, so you can make it quick. So here, my H, my horizontal, will be 15 cosine 9.4623 degree. And you put it into your calculator, it should be 14.8, correct to your 3 significant figures. So always you only correct to 3 significant figures for your final answer. So therefore, in here it is 14.8 kilometer. So this is all we have for our multiple choice. And I know some of you struggle with your plane figure here and naming the angles. So I know I talk about it in class a lot, but let's have a look at it again. So projection of line, find a projection of line. So meaning that they want the shadow line of BN with the plane EFGH. So we can always highlight it. And if the question is asking 3 of those, I will recommend you only highlight the one you want. So maybe just using a pencil. But if the questions, you can actually, if they only ask for 1, then obviously you can use your highlighter. But if they ask for 3, using a highlighter will be confusing for the part B and C. So in here, they ask for the projections of BN and the plane EFGH. So we highlight EFGH and then look for BN. BN, if you look carefully, is this line here. And because they're talking about the bottom plane, so you know that the light is shining. So maybe I'll use this. The light is shining from the top, and therefore we know we have to look for a shadow. N is already at the bottom part, so when we look at the shadow, this point B will go to G. So this is the projection line. This one here is our projection line, our shadow. So therefore, A, you can just say GN is the projection line. So once we got that, we look at our part B. Find the angle between the CF. So again, we just erase all this. So now look at it. So this time we want the angle between your plane and the line. So use another highlighter, CF, and then CDEH. So let's look at where is our CD. CDEH. So the front. So therefore, you know that the light is shining from the back. So from the back, so meaning this way. And then the line CF. So let's see, again, is this line in the middle. So whenever it's in the middle and we're comparing the front, C already is in the front plane, and then we look at that F. If we shine it to the front, it will be on that E here. So we're on point E. So therefore, the angle between this will be your original. So originally is this F. So F, and then the here, and then the shadow one. So here, start with the original point F, and then the middle point, and then where the shadow lines, which is your E. So now look at part C. So part C this time is 2 plane. So when you got 2 plane, we can look at this AB, GF, and then EFGH. So EFGH is the bottom one, and then ABGF. So this time we don't have to look at what is shadow because both of them is not invisible line, okay? So they're not the imaginary one inside your solid. So here, you can see it carefully, this will be our angle. So you have 2 choices here. You can either write your AFE or your BGH. Either one will give you the marks already. So for part A and B, those lines are BN and CF is imaginary. But if we have this line here and this plane at the bottom, then we know that we don't have imaginary. Then you We don't even need to think about the shadow, then you can already tell me the angles already. So we always have to look carefully what is the question asking. Every time the case is different, but this is just an idea of how to do this type of question. So next we come to our sine, cosine, tangent. Evaluate without using a calculator. So meaning that they need some steps. And by meaning evaluate, they want the value. So here you got tangent 30, cosine 30 plus sine 60. When you see the question have all this 30, 30, 60, or 45, these special angles, you know that they're talking about the chart you have to memorize. They want you to use the special angles table to find the answer. So in here we have this. Okay, as long as you memorize the chart, you get that easy marks. I know some of you have thought about, is it the sine 90 minus 60 giving you so that I got cosine 30 as well? Yes, you can use that, but there's no point showing off your identities when you can use your numbers from the chart immediately, because eventually, even you give me this one later on, you still need to show me your chart. You still need to show me these numbers in order to get the marks, because the question is testing your skills of memorizing the table. So even you come to this one, and if you give me a final answer 1, meaning that you use a calculator. Okay, so but if you didn't use a calculator and you use these numbers, please show me the steps. You have to show me the steps in order to get all 2 marks. So let's look at part B. So part B here, express this in terms of cosine theta, meaning that your answer will have cosine theta only. So you know that they want you to use your identities, but when you look at this case, you got sine squared theta, you got sine to the power 4 theta, and we don't have any trivial identities for this, for the sine power 4 theta, but when we look at it, it looks like our a square minus 2 something b squared, but we know that for b here is your sine squared theta. So this one definitely look like our identities for a squared minus 2ab plus b squared, which is your a minus b whole square. So now this is my a, this is my b, this is my b square, sorry, this is my a square. So you know that a square, if I want a square is equals to 1, a will be a will be 1. And if my b square equals sine to the power 4 theta, meaning that my sine square theta is my b. So now you can use your trivial identities, because 1 minus sine square theta, if you memorize, is like cosine square theta. And please remember we have this here as well. So this one will give you cosine 4 to the power 4 theta. So this is your answer because it's set in terms of cosine theta. So then another type of question for your sine, cosine, tangent is also very important to look at this part here. This is another type. So we can see part A of number 8 is asking you to use Pythagoras theorem, and part B asking you to use the trigonometric identities. So in here, first of all, I know I need to draw a triangle. So this is the thing that will give you the score. And then I know we got theta. So tangent theta is 0.2. The first thing you have to do is change your 0.2 into, change your 0.2 into a fraction, which is 1/5, and then you know that tangent is your opposite sides divided by adjacent sides, so which is your 1/5 over there. And once you draw it, show me this here. So you can always name it. So this is ABC. So we know that we need the length AC, because for sine theta or cosine theta, you need your hypotenuse. So using your Pythagoras theorem, and again, some of you didn't show your steps for Pythagoras theorem. Again, that part give you the method marks as well. So please do not skip it, even though you can see it's only 3 marks, but there's a specific mark scheme for all these 3 marks. So I have to see something that I want in order to give you that. So then we'll list out what is our sine theta and cosine theta. So please make sure you remember which line is over which one for sine, cosine, tangent. And once we got our sine, cosine, then we look at it. So therefore, our 1 plus sine square theta, because always answer the question. This is what they want. So this one is 1/26 square root square. And you can put it into calculator, you get answer 2. So if you want to check your answers, you can always, because I know some of you use your identities, and you can immediately see this one, and sine square theta plus cosine square theta, you already know is 1, and 1 plus 1 will give you 2. So you can check your answers already. And then the second one, they ask you to use your trigonometric identities, and here you got 2 ways of doing it. So 1 and 2. So first of all, you got tangent theta equals 5. So therefore, we can change the tangent theta, because you see the question, we don't have tangent theta. We only have sine and cosine. You can, in terms of your cosine, so once you got that, from this here, okay, usually you write the questions out, but in here I'm not going to write it. You can just see I can substitute my 5 cosine theta here. Okay, so we got tangent cosine theta plus 3 cosine theta over 5 times 3 is 15. 15 cosine theta minus 2 cosine theta. So please do not cross the cosine for me yet. You can do that later. We can just combine the numerator and then also my denominator, because the cosine theta in the numerator is like terms, you can add them up. In the denominator, the cosine theta is a like term as well. So you cancel out 15 cosine theta minus divided by 13 cosine theta divided by 13 cosine theta is 1. This is your number 1 method. Number 2 method, this type of questions, you only have sine, cosine in the question. So what do we do? The only information we got is tangent. In order to make use of this, we know that tangent is equals to sine and cosine. So equals to that. So I want to try to make it. So therefore, everything in your denominator and numerator divide by cosine theta, because you know that sine theta over cosine theta give you tangent theta. So here, both numerator and denominator, we divided per cosine theta. So both top and bottom do the same. And before you cross out something, solve it first. So the first one you got here is 2 tangent theta. And then the second one, cosine and cosine will divide by each other, becomes a number. And then here again, you got your sine over cosine, so which is your tangent. and then cosine and cosine, you might eliminate each other. And again, please make sure you have this step and this steps. First marks I give you because I see that you divide by cosine theta. The second marks I give you because I can see that you know your identities. And if you don't give me that, you skip all those steps, then I can't give you any marks. Because tangent theta is 5, then we can put the 5 in there, and all you're left with is solving this here. You got 13 over 13, which is 1. So you should have the same answer even you use different methods. So number 9, it comes to this scale, counter map and the scale. So information you need is your scale, and you know the scale gives you the information of your horizontal with the measure length. This information here gives you the horizontal. And in here, it gives you the vertical information. So you highlight everything you got. Now look for the question. So part A, it says find the gradient. Gradient, what it equals to? Gradient is your vertical distance divided by horizontal distance. So in here, vertical, so vertical distance equals to 350 minus 200, which is 150 meter. You can see the unit. And then the horizontal. So look at it. It gives you 2.5 cm, and then the scale 1 to 12,000 is also in cm. Then here you got cm and change it to meter. So now you can put it back into your gradient formula. So therefore, I'll change another color so you can see it. Gradient equals your vertical 150, horizontal 300. So therefore, your gradient is 1 over 2. And they said they want it in the form of this. So therefore, gradient is 1 to 2. So this is your part A. And then part B, it says xy is another straight road of the same map, and the inclination of xy is 30 degrees. Which one is steeper, PQ or xy? So this is the information they give you for xy. And then PQ, we do not know what is the inclination. So therefore, we can find the inclination for PQ in order to compare. So tangent theta is your gradient, which you found in your part A. And theta, therefore, is 26.6 degrees. So 26.6 degrees is smaller than 30 degrees. So therefore, xy is steeper. So listen carefully. If you got a degree, this one, if it's bigger one give you a steeper road. Imagine if I got this 70 degrees and this is only 5 degrees. So look at it, you can see, obviously you can see this 70 here is steeper. So when the inclination is greater, it is steeper. So sometimes they might ask you, oh, I got the gradient of this is 2, the gradient of that one is 1. So think about which one is steeper. Then you can also compare the numbers and tell me which one is steeper. So for gradient here, we can always say, so if I got a gradient of 1 over 2, So some of you might think, oh, can I compare my gradient instead of the theta? Of course you can, because you know gradient is tangent theta. So if your theta is 30 degree, then we can calculate it, and you can see that it's 0.5773 when you put it into your calculator. And this one you compare it with your PQ and your XY, the gradient, you can see that 0.5 is smaller than 0.5773. So therefore, you can still say that XY is steeper by comparing your gradient. So in here, you can see that the next question is about your mensuration. So in this questions here, you can see a cone, and then it actually tells you it's a frustum, because for the cone, you can see it's dotted line, but from the dotted line, you can already see that it is a frustum. Even though sometimes they don't, maybe if the question just give you this shape, they didn't give you the dotted line, but by looking at it, you can also put it like this. So if it's a pyramid, it's the same thing. So the cone or pyramid frustum, you can always extend the line for yourself to see it. So in here, we got the informations of the upper base and the lower base. The radius is 12 and 15, and it's drawn on the diagram as well. So we can just look at the diagram. And then they give you the height of the whole cone. And now they said is to ask you to find the length of Vn. So look at Vn and see where it is. So you can see Vn here. You can obviously see that it is your small cone. And if we compare with the big one, we can see that we got 3 informations already. So because this is a similar triangle, once you know it is a similar shape, you can say that we want to compare the length. So Vn compare with the Vm, which is the height of the small cone compared with the height of the big cone. And then the small cone radius compare with the big cone radius. Then we can find the information we want. So 8 is 24, so therefore length of Vn is 24 cm. Please make sure you have the units there. And then later on, they ask for the volume of the frustum. In order to find the volume of the frustum, we know that it is the big cone minus the small one. So volume of frustum equals volume of your VAB, the cone VAB, minus volume of your small cone VDC. So here, what we do is using the volume of a cone, so 1/3 pi r square h. For the big one, the r is 15 square, and the height is 30. And then minus the small one, the radius is 12, and then the height is the one you just found, 24. So find the volume of the frustum by minusing both of them, and you should get, put it into a calculator, you should get this cm cube and correct to 360. You only keep it to the in terms of pi if the questions ask you. If not, please put it into the calculator and correct to 3 significant figures. So this question is not hard as long as you know that whenever it is a similar shape, you can compare them. Because it's talking about the height and radius only, so you only need to put them by the side. So both small on the side, on the numerator, and then both big cone information is at the denominator, because we're not talking about surface area or volume here. So please do not use that square and cube formula. So here it comes to our last question. your interest rate and your compound simple interest and your compound interest. So here we have a lot of information because we got bank A, B, C, and Celine is depositing this amount of money for 4 years, and then they do it nicely. They put it separately, and both of this is compound B and C, but one of them is half year, one of them is quarter, and with different rate. Some of you mix them up, so all you have to do is list out your A and B. But bank A, bank B, bank C, remember one of them is simple interest, one of them is giving you compound interest. The formula for simple interest you memorize is for interest only, and for the compound interest formula, the one you memorize is giving you the amount. So they ask you which one earn more interest, so you can either compare your interest and tell me, and then or you can compare the amounts and tell me, because the deposit is the same. But since they're talking about interest, then I will stick with interest. So simple interest for my bank A, so let's do this, equals to my principal times the rate times the year, and then you get this amount. $52,000. And then bank B, it is a compound half year. So half year meaning that you have to half yearly, you have to change your information. So the rate for half year should be 2.5% divided by 2, because originally this is for when you have 1 year, and now it's half year. And then the time period, so you have 4 years, and now you are doing it at half yearly. So in 4 years, you have 8 of those half year. So now you can do it the compound interest. The compound interest equals to your principal times your 1 plus 1.25%, and then the time period you calculate. And again, this only gives you the amount, so you have to minus the principal in order to get that interest only, because you want to only compare the interest. So now you got this amount. And then for bank C, again, we calculate the rate separately because it's compound quarterly. Quarterly means that 1 year you split it into 4 parts. So now therefore the rate 2.4%, you have to split it into 4 as well, which gives you 0.6%. And then the time period, because 1 year you got 4 quarter, so now for 4 years you got 16 quarter. So compound interest for bank C, you can now calculate with all those informations. So principal is the same. So 5 of those zeros. Remember, make sure you don't copy the wrong one. So 0.6%, and then to the power of 16. Again, this compound interest formula will just give you the amount. So I have to minus my principal in order to find the interest. So all this number I corrected to nearest dollar. So remember, you write this if you correct it. And then now you compare it. Make sure you have to compare it. The comparison gives you the marks as well, to show that you're not just guessing the answer. So you can see that the interest they gave you the most is bank B, so obviously they will choose bank B. So here is the whole mock 1 question paper. So make sure you go back and have a look. So in this mock, I don't think I make it too difficult, but basically all the basic concept or formula or techniques I have tried to test you in this mock already. So revise for this and also revise for your chapter test or the review paper, revision paper as well. So if you got question, please ask.